Hello, Sharif here. And today I thought I pushed the button at the right time and it said I didn't. So you're missing one whole second of me. Um, hope that wasn't distressing for anybody. Um, so we're going to do a couple of things today. As I said, we're going to talk about this is the view from inside the chrysalis, where all the creative stuff is happening on our journey to a completely new reality for humanity. Um, we're going to talk about this question of this is the third part of looking at our series on um, the practical aspects of a spiritual future. And we're going to be looking at something very specific. How will us becoming colony humans, a new way of thinking about our humanity, how will that help us in terms of achieving a spiritual and a practical future where all human beings and all living beings can thrive? We're going to do something else though, and that is as I told you, and I'm getting my timer together for our meditation. We're going to go about a month and then assess what was going to happen with this live stream. So it's been over a month, and I assembled a few of us who have been participating regularly with the live stream, and we talked about some things. One was that everybody wanted to continue. The other is if the numbers don't go up, what's the point? And we decided to change the format significantly. Things are not written in stone yet, so um you have all right, you there have an opportunity to lend your voice to how this is going to change. So we're going to go for the first 30 minutes. We're going to talk about our topic for the day, our spiritual future, part three. And then for about 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to talk about what this live stream could look like in our immediate future, frequency, subjects, things like that. So if you can hang in here for another 10 or 15 minutes, that would be great after the bottom of the hour. And if you can't, um, blessings, and you can always write in your comments even after we go off the air, off the internet. Okay, so without further ado, no more do here. We are going to do our regular meditation, and I'm not seeing our languaging. And it's interesting. I erased a bunch of stuff right before the I went on the air here, and I think I erased the wrong stuff here. So I will push our start button, and I'll invite you to meditate. And I'll invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable with that. I'll invite you to lengthen your breathing. These two things go together. Closing your eyes reduces your sensory stimulation. focusing on and deepening your breathing slows down all of your processes, slows down the monkey mind. Reducing your thoughts allows you to open to deep connection with others. It's not about your mind, it's about our mind. So I will invite you to recenter yourself. And if you're comfortable now, open your eyes if you had them closed. And let's begin. Um, there's a part of me that wants to launch into talking about the um, the mechanics of the live stream and what we're going to do and getting your opinion and things like that. And I am deeply going to resist that. We do need to close out this section on how in our future do we together practice our spirituality, and how do we do it on an everyday basis? What does everyday spirituality look like? um, and for this time, I'm joining that concept to this concept of colony humans. And if you were part of the discussions on colony humans before, we'll continue there. If you were not part of it, let me uh, remind you what we're talking about. That I was deeply impressed by the fact that um, uh, ants were not always colony beings. They existed as individuals, and they lived their little ant lives as individuals. This is back in the days of the dinosaurs. So when I say little lives, they're probably like a foot long or something like that. And but it's only when they became colony beings that they became what is arguably the most successful being on the planet. Um, that there are 35 pounds of ants for every pound of human. Figure out how much you weigh. That's how many ants you got. I got my own ants to work or to deal with. And so, what would happen if we stopped acting in the world as individuals and we started acting as colony beings? Well, you know that when I pose that as a question for you, a lot of you are already, kind of scratching your head saying, well, we kind of do that now. And that is true. We do have aspects of colonial beings right now. When you start thinking about how we act in the world when we are not acting self-consciously, when we are acting through our joy, when we're acting through our service, being of service to other beings, when we're acting through our grief, when we're acting through our love, we stop thinking about how am I going to benefit from this? I mean, how many of us have gone to a funeral saying, oh wow, how am I going to benefit from this funeral? We don't do that. Or how many of you have been to a wedding, your own or somebody else's, and said, what's the scheme for me benefiting from this wedding? The reality is that we know how to act as colony humans in limited circumstances. You don't stay at a wedding all day long. Well, yes, some weddings you do. You don't stay at a wedding all week. Actually, some weddings you do. The wedding comes to an end at some point in time. The funeral comes to an end at some point in time. Even when we get caught up in like the search and rescue after an earthquake, which can go on for weeks, even that comes to an end. What would happen if we lived our lives in such a way that community and colony coexist? What if you were doing your job, a job that you love doing, and I mean love doing? And I've had the opportunity to interview people who are living their labor of love. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm an artist and I get to paint on canvas, or I get to do such creative. It can be, scrubbing the moss off the rocks at Brighton Bush Hot Springs. It could be. I talked to an electrician once who just said, I love what I'm doing. I'm very satisfied when I finish a job and I look at the wiring, not just look at the wiring, but look at how neat it is. Look at how I didn't waste any wire. Look at how it all fits in the cabinet a particular way. It's like, this is really, really cool stuff. What if you got paid to do that? And what you got paid was enough. And by enough, I mean you had enough money for your immediate basic needs: food, shelter, clothing, energy, etc. Um, and you had enough for some of your wants and maybe a couple of wishes thrown in there also. You didn't have too much. You weren't accumulating racks and racks and racks of money, and more money than you could ever spend in 10 lifetimes. Who would want to do that? Whose heart is pointed toward doing that? I would assume that most of the people who um, who do that either do it accidentally, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in a second, or they've got some very serious psychological issues that come out in the doing of all that. You may have heard me tell the story about my favorite billionaire, James Rouse. When I met, he's passed on now, but when I met him, he and his wife were in their 80s. And Rouse did something that I think has impacted um, just about every American in this country and a whole lot of people abroad. He created something called the mall. Um, and before the mall, you had, you know, Main Street USA, Broadway, or whatever you called it. You go downtown to do your shopping. Well, after James Rouse, you went to the mall to do your shopping. In As he was developing these pieces of real estate, he managed to make himself. At the time I met him, he was worth about $8 billion, and we had this really great opportunity to talk to each other. Um, and he said, um, I'm worth about $8 billion, and I think that that's probably enough. And his wife starts laughing because it's pretty obvious that they had had this conversation before, and they had determined they had way too much money. And he said, "The problem I've got is I really, really like to work. I like to work. I like the work I'm doing, and I make a lot of money." And so that's what I call the kind of the accidental billionaire. Okay. Um, I've met a lot of people who make a lot of money, and it's almost incidental. It's like, yeah, I do this, and people give me millions of dollars or billions of dollars for doing it, and I don't limit myself doing it because I love doing it, but yeah, I don't need to do this. Okay. Um, no, I'm sorry. I don't need the money, but I need to do this. This thing that I'm doing is lies at my heart here. And if you want more conversation on the heart-driven stuff, an excellent book to read is James Hillman's book called The Soul's Code. Hillman says in his book that every human being is born knowing what they're supposed to do in the world. That it's the code that lies inside of you. He said that in your heart when you're born is what he calls the acorn, the kernel of your being. And then you're born, they slap you on the butt, they wrap you up in something, and you kind of forget that. You forget what that code is. Now, what our educational system is supposed to do, what the educational system is supposed to do, is over a few years, introduce you to enough of the world to be able to answer and satisfy that soul's code. Um, so in the book, in the Hillman book, um, he talks about um, a number of people who were able to achieve their soul's code and answer the call that they had. And a lot of them are artists of various kinds. Um, and how they were able to understand that. And he gives one example. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He gives a whole bunch of examples. The one I remember, and I think that this was Yehudi Menuhin when he was a child. His parents took him to a concert, and the only thing that he could see was the violin. And from that point on, he said to his parents, I need that. Get me one of those. Get me one of those right now. The parents were not wealthy. Um, and so for his birthday, they bought this little plastic violin. It had plastic strings. It had a little bow to it, and you could make noise with this thing. So this will satisfy him. So he opened up this present. He sees the plastic violin, and he grabs it by its neck and he smashes it against the table and says, I need a violin. And the parents got the message, got him a real violin, and he becomes one of the greatest violinists in the world. I know a couple of things. One is I have no idea what to call me. There are people who refer to me as a writer, but I don't think of myself as a writer. I think of myself as someone who writes. I think that what I am has a back, 1,000 years ago, you would know what to call me. I'd be the philosopher. I'd be the wise man advising the king. I would be, the guy who sits under the tree and you bring him some olives or a leg of lamb, and he talks to you about how the world works. We just don't have those anymore, and which is why it's really hard for me to put myself in the right framework here. But regardless of what the words are, I know it right here. Regardless of what the words are for you, do you know what your soul's code is asking of you? It has nothing to do with money, with earning your living. You can earn your living and then do your soul's code. I knew a lot of people when I was living in Camden, New Jersey, an amazingly toxic environment, who had lots of things in their heart that they needed to express, but we didn't live in a society that allowed you to express it. And so a lot of our negative behavior, a lot of our drug use came because I was not able to express my soul's code. We will be living in a healthy and healing environment when that expression of the soul's code is activated in the entire society. It doesn't matter whether you know your how you fit in. And that's one of the problems we have in our society. I'm so focused on me. I don't focus on um, how we um, how we together live our lives and live those lives in such a way that all of us get our soul's code met. I want to point something out to you. Um, when you are out and about today and tomorrow and the next day, I want you to look at the cars. We're surrounded by cars. And I want you to look at how similar they are to each other. I want you to look at the fact that these cars are just they all look alike. Okay. Now I think I told you I watched these 1940s and 1950s movies where all the cars are like a block and a half long, and back in the days when you know, who cares how much gas they burn? Yeah, in fact, nobody even told you what the numbers were. We don't care. Yeah. Um, but why do we need so many cars that look just alike? Well, we need them because that's how everybody is trying to make their own individual money. We don't need all the cars we've got. We're pushing them on people. We're selling them like my car is in some way different from your car. We know how to make cars that last forever, nearly forever. We know how to make cars that all have the same basic features. We can change the features on a car every 3, 4, 5 years or so without saying every single year you've got to have a new car. So what's the purpose of that other than we're going to make money for our group and we're going to take money away from the other group? If we focused as a colony, we would know how many cars we needed. We would know how much food we needed. We wouldn't be overproducing certain kinds of food. We would know how to produce food in a way that everybody feels good about what they are doing, feels good right here at their heart about what they're doing. Um, but in order to get there and recognize that this is not just economics, this is our economics and our community and our bonding and our spirituality and all of it just rolled right into one. And that's the future that we should be focusing in on. Um, our challenge is we can do it. Our challenge is we need to do it. We should be doing this. This is something that we should be doing. Um, our challenge is um, can I'm sorry, if we have fewer cars, by the way, we have a lot less strain on global climate change, etc. And so we wind up solving a number of issues at the same time. So our challenge is um, can all of us wind up creating this new world, a new way of looking at the world, and doing that in a way that we wind up solving lots and lots and lots of issues instead of trying to focus on this issue here and that issue there and this issue over here. Okay, we've reached the bottom of the hour, and I said that I'm going to talk to you about what happens next with regard to this live cast. If that's something that you can help us with, that'd be great. If you gotta go, oh, I hope you all have to go. So we'll see kind of where we go from here. So where we're going from here, and by the way, I noticed that there's some questions that popped up in the chat area here, and they seem to be focusing in on toxic environments. And I'm going to talk more about that next week. One of the things I'm going to be addressing, and we can do this right now. One of the things I'm going to be addressing is I mentioned to you, and where are my books here? I mentioned to you the Chronicles of the Upheavals, which is my only Chronicles of the Upheavals, and the sister book, the Chronicles of the Awakening. It's my only foray into fiction. But this isn't really fiction. This is kind of our future history. And as you can see, it's kind of big. We're going to be focusing in on this next week. I want to tell you what the book is about, and then I want to give you a link to getting your own, being able to address some of the chapters in the book without having to buy the book. And so this isn't just a sales program here. So what I'm going to do is put this in as a comment. First, what the book is about. The book is set 100 years in the future. And 100 years in the future, humanity makes it. And we make it through all of the stuff that's about to hit us. We make it through our upheavals. Everything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong. All of those 12 global challenges, all of them happen, all of them go bad at the same time. So what do we do about it? We do all the right things. And so 100 years from now, 2125, the book is set in. And there's no more poverty, there's no more violence, there's no more corporations, there's no more all the stuff that is disintegrating our human society. So the folks 100 years in the future say, we need a history of what we did and what we did right in order for us to figure out what we need to do in our future. So they commissioned a history that starts in their past in 2025, and they start following a handful of young people as this world is changing and actually directing them in the change. It's written in a very unique style. One of the key elements in most books is building. It's called world building, especially in science fiction. What does the world actually look like? What is the Yeah, what do the buildings look like? What are people doing, etc. And I do almost none of that. The world building has to come from your own mind. And so these are dialogues, where the dialogue takes place, what the room looks like, um, what kind of pen someone is using, all that stuff. You are going to be the when you read the book, you become the co-creator of that um, of that reality. Lots and lots of folks love the freedom that that gives you to imagine a whole new world. A number of people can't handle it. They it's like I'm waiting for you to tell me what the cars look like, you know. Um, so what I did um, with a noted videographer when the book first came out, we took 5 or 6 chapters from the book, and we did what's called a sight reading. And what a sight reading is people sit down, and uh, I am having a dialogue with someone, sitting at a table, but we're reading the book back and forth to each other. So we're acting like characters in the book. But again, we're not acting because for most of us, we had never seen the book before. So we're literally reading the book. So short chapters, one person does the reading. For the longer chapters that involve dialogues, I'm reading against another person. And you can see this video by me um, giving you the link. And I'm giving you the link right here. Um, and what you can do, I don't think that you can click on the link, but what you can do is copy that link, paste it into your browser window, and that should get you to the video for the Chronicles of the Upheavals. Now, the video has 7 chapters, and those chapters are timed out. So if you can, and here's the timing. Okay, it's very neat on my in my outline, and it got a little scrambled as I sent it to you. But if you what you want to do, what you can do, um, is jump around a bit if you want to. Now that you've got that, you can look at one of some of the short chapters and see what people are saying about cities on fire, for example, or what a FEMA city would be. Or if you're interested in the chipmunk, one of the most important chapters in the book. And I would encourage you to start from the very beginning, even the overview. That gives you a lot of information as to why I did the book and what you could get out of it. Okay, that was a lot more than I had planned on. I think that's everything I need to say about the book. And I encourage you to take a look. And well, if any of this is actually interesting to you, there's ways to get the book to you, and so we can talk about that. But next week we'll be talking about the future, and when we're talking about the future, we're going to be using this as reference. If you don't want to read the book, if you don't want to watch the video, you're still welcome to participate But if you haven't read the book, I'm probably not going to take any questions from you. If you haven't taken the time to review this video, I probably won't be taking any questions. I mean, we need to work at this, and you can. This will give you several days to get get your fecal matter together. Okay, so now I'm going to spend the next 5 minutes going through um, what format are we going to be using in the future of this live stream. Um, so what the feedback I'm getting from you is that this is valuable, and you want to continue, but there's some problems with the format, okay, and we're trying to address those problems. One of the problems is 30 minutes is too weird a time. It's it's enough time to get into a topic, but by the time I get wound up and get into it, there's not enough time to continue. And the topics are kind of floating around, and there needs to be more whatever this is, more foundation to them. So what we're going to be so again, haven't finished talking about this yet. But what we're looking at is something that's going to go from daily, and the dailies are not going to be 30 minutes. It's going to be 1 to 3 minutes a day. This is what on YouTube it's called a short, and shorts are 1 minute. And I'm like, I'm going to talk for 1 minute. But this will be great discipline. So, and the idea is to hit one point and hit it well, hit it for 59 seconds and be done with it. So to introduce, like, for example, with the 12 global challenges, I just talked about going around the wheel and talking about food and then energy and then water and then but why don't I can spend 1 minute talking about food and how that reflects on our 12 global challenges, and boom, we're done. The next day I can talk about water and how this is one of the 12 global challenges, and then I'm done. And I can go around the entire wheel over several days, and also introduce some discussion questions so that you can start talking with others to get people. Did you see what the 12th global challenge was today? To start the conversations going. Next is weekly. This would be a summary of whatever we talked about in these shorts. That would go for 30 minutes. It could go for 60 minutes. So it's either collecting the shorts and then collecting the discussion questions and having some surface level of discussion around that, and doing that once a week. Now, in order for you to participate in that, if this would be the second time you get to think about some of this stuff. This would be taking it deeper. And then even deeper would be a monthly, once a month program. This could be 60 to 90 minutes. It would be a big issue. Okay. So, talk about all 12 global challenges over a 90-minute period of time, or all 12 steps to the 12 steps of inclusivity over 60 to 90 minutes of time, or all of the solutions beyond diversity over a 60 to 90-minute period of time. So we're talking about these 1 month blocks. And Common Way has enough 1 month blocks to go a year, okay, so, or maybe more. So uh, those of you who stick with this um, could become certified in any of these issues. Certified to introduce the topics yourself. Certified in to start a procedure. Certified to do things in your local area. And this then relates to what I'm calling the game. This is something that you facilitate in your area. You get a group of people together, and the the elements of what you talk about and how you talk about it and what you do, this provides an opportunity for us to get out of our heads and out of our bedrooms and out of our living rooms and get out and start talking with human beings again. So this is on the internet, but it's also going to be live in somebody's living room. How do we connect with each other? And then how do we connect with the other, whoever your other may be? And by other, the people you have difficulty connecting with. And then how does this turn into a practice for you? So our challenge is, how do we all of these things will lead us to how we practice with each other on another level. And all these things lead us to the beginning of openings of awakening centers in the spring of 2024, next year, next spring. Where? Good question. Maybe where you are. How? Good question. With what money? We're going to need some money. So we get to answer all those questions between now, end of spring of 2023, and spring of 2024. You should have a few million questions from that, from what we just talked about. Let's get together and talk about it. Now, the next time we do the live stream is going to be Monday, my morning, regular time, my 9 a.m. We have to make some decisions on how to change the focus. And one of the things that we have to change is some of the formatting. When YouTube does shorts, it's not this framework. It's this framework. And so I don't know how to do that. I don't know the technology behind that yet. So we will solve all of the technology and be ready to rock and roll in probably the week after that. So we're definitely going to be doing Monday. I look forward to seeing you. We definitely are going to be talking about the Chronicles of the Upheavals and viewing our way to a whole new future and reality. You've got the links right now, so you can copy the URL. I'm going to send it to you one more time here. We will you can copy and paste and oh, that's right, I can put it right up here on the screen. Um, so you've got it. I look forward to having a good conversation with you about it. Um, oh, there's a surprise in the book, not in the videos I'm sent. Actually, there is a surprise in the videos. Um, uh, but there's a surprise in the book. As people have read the book, when they get to the end of the book, they say, "Oh my God, if that's the future, I don't want that future." And I tell them that's why it's in the book. For you to start at to not be a passive um, uh, observer in your own future, that you can say, I want two of these, but I only want one of those. I don't want any of these. And for you to be able to ask and answer the questions of what does your future actually look like? What does your future have in it, and what does your future not have in it? That becomes very important as we get down the line of being able to say, as human beings, I want a life centric, human centric reality, not machine centric, not technology centric, not Elon Musk centric. Let's have a real connection with real human beings here. Okay, I think I'm done now. I am looking forward to shifting our focus a bit and being able to cover more territory with a technological oomph. And I'm looking forward to us getting together and continuing our discussions and our conversations. Thank you. May all beings be well. May all beings be secure. May all beings be happy. Thanks a lot. Do your reading this weekend, or do your watching of people reading the book this weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.